Hello everyone, find a seat. Oh, I really thought no one was going to come to this because of it clashing with Pointless.
And Pointless to try and get in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That queue was huge.
Oh, is it one of those noted the Pointless line was way bigger? Oh, thank you guys. I hope you enjoy this consolation prize. No, I enjoyed Pointless. I was disappointed that I had to miss out on Pointless. I would have gone to Pointless, or this kind of went around. Let's make sure everyone's got a seat before we start. There's a few seats around. Don't worry, you're not quite as full as Chris is, but that was Chris Homer. Chris is just a bit more popular than me. It's okay, I'm not good. Chris Homer is a very good friend of mine. Is everyone in? Is everyone in? Say scream if you're not in. Great. I think it's the start time. The door is shut in, so I presume it's start time. Hello everyone! Hello. Before we start, I must ask, did anybody come to the first Lost Media panel we did last year? I saw it on YouTube. So a few people haven't, a few people. That's okay, because one thing we kind of do talk about, that we did talk about in the last Lost Media panel, that's mostly because it has been found since the last time. So I'm kind of excited because I knew there were some people in here who, they were new to Lost Media. So this actually is a feeling you get if you're a Lost Media enthusiast like me, wanted to see something and actually getting to see it. So I hope you said some people may get that experience for the first time. So as I said, welcome to the Lost Media panel. I have not reused these slides from last time. Don't worry, the rest is different. I just liked how I started last time. Lost Media is an umbrella term for media that no longer exists, is missing, or not available to the general public. It may refer to lost artwork, lost film, lost literary work, lost television broadcast. Possibly there's a lot of that. The BBC doesn't have anything pre-war. Like, it only has about 2 minutes worth of pre-war footage. That's like, I think 15 years worth of like broadcasts. And of course, they even have lost anime. If you were here last time, you may remember I did start off talking about Doctor Who, and that how a lot of its first couple of seasons, the first 2 Doctors, is lost, and unfortunately probably a lot of it will not be found. So I thought I started, as that kind of worked well, just as some people, just to get the concept of Lost Media. I'm going to talk about a Western franchise first, before I go into the anime and Japanese stuff. Don't worry, this is still kind of nerdy, and this only was meant to be a small bit, and I actually, in the end, legit found the Lost Media, the very first ever piece of Lost Media I ever went searching for. Right. This is Fort Boyard. Does anyone remember this cult masterpiece? Remember these people? It was a great show. It ran from 1998 to 2001.
Awesome theme tune.
Amazing theme tune. It was on Channel 5. It was later repeated. On Challenge, and that's what I saw a lot. I remember loving, along with Takeshi's Castle, or watching this masterpiece. And this man just made it great. He was just the ultimate pantomime villain. He made the show great. Unfortunately, there was a mid-reboot. I will admit, Tom Baker actually is pretty funny in it, but unfortunately, the other two are just doing a poor man impression of the previous 2 presenters. It was made by Challenge. They tried. Unfortunately, they had a lot less budget than Channel 5 did. Years later, there was another reboot made by CITV. Didn't use the theme song. Didn't use anything the Fort freaking had. It was like, what was the point of using Fort Boyard as a set? I think there's even a point where they're doing some of the challenges, and they're just doing it in a corridor, and I'm like, dude, there's seriously this big epic room. They normally do it in the other version, and it was, trust me, I could have a whole panel sulking about this version of Fort Boyard. But now we come to another show. Yeah. Now a lot of people will probably recognise this fellow. Well, You see, whenever Fort Boyard was kind of brought up on, especially UK forums, it was always sort of, that Crystal Maze rip-off. Of course, Crystal Maze actually ran from 1989 to 1995 and had two hosts, Richard O'Brien, of course, the lovely fellow here, and later Ed Torpo. Of course, there has been a recent reboot that I found out has actually been cancelled. I didn't know that. Shows you how much attention I was paying. So this is literally going to lead me down, when I was younger, this essentially led me down a big rabbit hole. And this literally piece of lost media will link these two shows together and finally prove that Fort Boyard isn't a rip-off of the Crystal Maze. This show here, I'm going to attempt to pronounce it in French. Show was called La Classe de Fort Boyard, aka The Keys of Fort Boyard. It started in 1990. I believe that is the French host of Countdown. That's what he was known for before he did this.
What, the guy on the right?
No, that's not the guy. The main host guy. I just
thinking I would totally watch
yeah. Countdown. It was later just named to Fort Boyard, and he's actually running to this day in France. It's actually a huge deal. Essentially, to the French, it's almost the equivalent of doing Strictly Come Dancing in this country. Even to the point where a footballer essentially got fired because he went to do Fort Boyard and his football team found out afterwards. And then there was there's an Irish guy video, and he sort of goes, "Oh, you went to do Fort Boyard? That's a stupid YouTube." And everyone in the comments like, "Oh, it's a huge deal in France. Like, do your research, bro." So you can still say, wait, this Fort Boyard, the Keys of Fort Boyard started in 1990, and the Crystal Maze started in early 1990. So it's still a rip-off. Now, this is where the lost media comes in. In 1989, a pitch was made. A pitch pilot by Channel 4. At the time, there was no, this is back in like the early 2000s, there was no images, just reports this happened, no information who hosted it. All that it was a test show for a show called Fort Boyard. Allegedly, it was filmed on half-finished Fort Boyard. So for many years, I thought there's no chance some random pitch pilot from the 80s is ever going to come out. And but someone actually did find something. It was actually an advert for the French version for the Keys of Fort Boyard, asking for contestants, and a few clues were shown. And an interesting discovery was made. Who's that hosting Fort Boyard? That man seems familiar. It is Richard O'Brien himself. A few years later, in the 30th anniversary, a few more minutes of the footage was shown. And I thought, hey, at least I kind of know what it looked like now. But last year, and I didn't even know about this till I researched this, the co-creator of Fort Boyard, the original, actually posted the pilot on his Facebook. And this is actually a remaster I have done because the audio is terrible, it does not match, and there is some French audio dubbed over it, so I presume this was for a test. So as you can see, it was filmed on a set like the Crystal Maze. We actually do have some audio, and trust me, the audio was so screwed up in this. There is some English in a minute. So they got the tigers still. So this is no. They actually just got rid of the tigers. As you can see, this is some weird bizarro world where both the shows are essentially fused together. I have edited it down a bit. I've just got one game. So it's just so weird to see like this sort of That smaller media Watson that stupidly had it at the bottom of the screen when I was recording this. So this is the first ever game played, I guess you can say, in Fort Bayard. That's the Crystal Maze. What do you think the chances of him winning it?
Less than nil.
Yeah. Don't forget, no one's ever played either one of these games before. Okay, it's a pretty simple game. I think they had this actually eventually in both shows. You remember this one? You have to you have to try to get the crystal like this. Ah! And as you can see, the first ever Crystal Maze Fort Bayard game ever played ended in failure. So yeah, that was hosted by the co-creator of Fort Bayard. The co-creator. And as you can see, the video was in a bad way. But what the hell happened? So, Channel 4 loved the show, absolutely adored the show, but wanted to make some creative differences. And the creator of Fort Bayard said essentially, no, you're going to have to follow the format of the up-and-coming French version. But Channel 4 did later say to the exact same guy who said, Antoine, would he draw up some designs for a new show? And he said yes. And in 2 days, he drew up a new game show. Oh, I think I've given some spoilers what this game show ended up becoming. The Crystal Maze! And that is the true story of how the Crystal Maze was created. So, I guess that is, the world of pitch pilots. So, essentially, a lot of the time, pitch pilots are made for a show. Sometimes these actually eventually just become the show, and other times it can be very different. They have different actors, different gimmicks in it, different animators, especially in anime, it can be even different studios and stuff like that. And yes, there is a such thing as a pitch pilot. And the course, I've been told this was talked about in Epic Failures Anime, and I missed it last night because I went on a trip to IKEA.
Yay! That was better time spent than watching that.
It was. And right, we're going to talk about this a bit later. We're actually going to talk about another pitch pilot. Anyone remember Sonic X? There was a pitch pilot, actually it's shocking not lost media. It's actually very different. I don't know why, it's like one of the only images I could get of the pitch pilot. A lot of the footage was later used for the opening title, both the Japanese version and the English version. This pitch pilot was quite short, but it implied that it would take place in Sonic's own world, so it would not feature Sonic going to the human world. So yeah, essentially he would not be going to the human world like he does in the original show. And of course, one of the best things about that, if he doesn't go to the human world, we don't have the biggest problem with Sonic X. We don't get Chris. So it's already a better show. But actually, the lost media kind of comes from the trailer that actually came out shortly after, when they kind of knew what sort of show they wanted to make. So here is the trailer. How is that? If you have watched Sonic X, you'll know this fellow never exists. He doesn't appear anywhere. And he has been dubbed as Nazo. So who the hell is this guy? So for years, of course, it's been the Sonic fandom. Many theories have come along. So the first one is he is a super early Silver Hedgehog, because Sonic X, I believe, came out till about 2004. Of course, this is before the masterpiece that is Sonic 2006. So of course, you can argue they do look similar, so you can see why that is you can argue, understand, there is they may have wanted to create a new character and they maybe just got cold feet and thought, we'll presume in his masterpiece, Sonic 2006, so everyone could love him.
But it was no use.
It was no use.
What did they call that one?
The shocking, I realise there's so much lost media to do with Sonic. There's like lost Sonic games, like the whole Sonic Extreme thing. I could have probably just put we could have made a whole lost media about Sonic panel. Actually, it's shocking how many franchises you could actually probably do that with. So, just people thought he was a new bad guy that would show up later on. But the most likely explanation actually was that essentially he was a new super form for Sonic. So this would have been some sort of Super Saiyan 3 Ultra form that, you know, when things got really tough, he would turn like into this. So I think actually looking at that, I think that somehow was, and I think they were just doing like, oh, this is going to happen in the show, and it just never did it. So yeah, it's the Sonic fandom, and they love everything to do with Sonic. I was really tempted to make a joke about another Sonic fan series, but I didn't. Yeah, he is really beloved, and there is like loads of fan art, and it's weird to think something like this, you know, if it had existed, it would change technically the entire franchise course. And that's the thing you think about Lost Media, even with pilots, you know, it's a bit like, what if they had gone with that other actor who was in the pilot? What exactly said? We could live in a timeline where Channel 4 just said, okay, we'll just take Fort Boyard as it is, and we didn't get the Crystal Maze. So we would have all, you know, a show just would have never existed. So yeah, it just really does show you sometimes that, you know, just one sort of slight change in a pilot or something really can change a lot of things. And I'm going to talk about another example of this.
Yeah.
People may remember these lovely people. Of course, that was Power Rangers. Of course, some people may go, but that was an American show. Well, we actually used scenes from a Japanese series called Ranger. And guess they have a really catchy theme song. Not quite as catchy as Power Rangers, but they have a really catchy. So it was from the Super Ranger. So Power Rangers, the Super Sentai, almost became an 80s icon twice by two totally separate people that had nothing to do with each other, shockingly, or very little. Oh God, what's going on here? Hey, it's back. One of them you may recognise. And this could really have changed the timeline, especially considering how popular some of this man's work has come. May I introduce you to Sun Vulcan. This was one of the very early Super Sentais. It actually only featured 3 members, and it's the only Sentai ever to only feature all male members. This was in a very, very weird time. Essentially, Marvel and Toei had some weird agreements that essentially for 5 years, Toei could use anything they wanted from Marvel in the Japanese market, however they felt fit, without any, like, you know, actually having to ask Marvel, and the other way around, Marvel could use Toei properties. So of course, this would go on to create the legendary Japanese Spider-Man, where he has a giant robot. That, no joke, they lost the costume after 10 episodes. So every time it showed up, every time after, they just have to use the same stock footage of it using its ultimate attack. And it became known as a one-hit kill, automatic, by a total mistake. It was that powerful that in the comic version of Spider-Verse, that like one few times that it actually appears outside of this show, it literally becomes a Deus Ex Machina, to the point where the villain sort of does something to it so they can't use it. And the entire plot is then trying to get it working again because they know that you can one-hit kill the villain.
I can confirm. On the storyline Edge of Spider-Verse and then Into the Spider-Verse, they actually made him canon.
Yes. So essentially Japanese Spider-Man it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the new movie. I really do hope we get a nod. Also, I believe in the original version of Ready Player One, that's his robot instead of the Iron Giant. they just couldn't get the rights to this, or I think they thought the Iron Giant was more marketable than some random robot. I believe this actually got used in when Marvel brought it over. They used it, they had a mecha like franchise where they just grabbed a load of mechas, and I believe they at least made toys of this. So technically, kind of, but I think they took away the Spider-Man. It's a really wild show. It's like I should put a clip in, but. So Stanley saw Sun Vulcan, and he was like, "This is great. I have a really good idea. What we're going to do, as you know, they're all covered up in the fight scenes. What we're going to do is we're going to film new scenes with American actors, and then we're just going to cut to the fight scenes. And then we have all these amazing fight scenes. We have the robot scenes we can use, and nobody will ever know." A pilot was allegedly made. Unfortunately, and this is what happens sometimes in lost media, we know nothing about it. Literally nothing, barely, just that it barely exists. And as I was saying, I was talking about the earlier 4x for so many years, we didn't even have an image, we didn't even know what it looked like. Sadly, this was never picked up, and unfortunately, Marvel's copyright on Super Sentai ran out. So, if this was made, you could have had Super Sentai Power Rangers in like Avenger films. And it would have been canon. So that's how wild that sort of changing of the timeline would have been. Like the Power Rangers would have shown up in Infinity War or something. So now another man. This is Saban. He's very well known. He's a very well known businessman. And he had a business, I believe he produced music, so when people brought shows over, you could sort of buy his music off of him. And he had a very similar idea. He wanted to take the 1985 Super Sentai named Bioman. And luckily more of this exists, and this is like one of the only few things that exists. So we actually have images of the American cast of Bioman. So of course we have Kimberly. I think that is Billy. The only one that doesn't have the same name as his Power Rangers counterpart is the Red Ranger. I've forgotten his name. Zach and Trini. And of course, this was a character that actually physically appears in Bioman, while Alpha 5 never actually physically appears in G-Ranger. That was all new footage. And he's known as Alpha 5. So, a lot of the ideas they would later go on for Power Rangers were created in the 80s for this show. So sadly, to this day, actually very little exists of the Bioman pilot in public. Literally, only footage, no joke, exists on like the Power Rangers box set, where they got a pitch trailer for Power Rangers known as Galaxy Ranger, and all they've done is they've taken the Bioman pilot footage and just put a load of G-Ranger footage on top of it, because they hadn't filmed the pilot yet. Also, when I was at MCM, I actually did ask about Super Sentai to the Power Rangers actors. I'm sure they loved that. But actually, they were pretty chill about it. And they claimed they saw pilots that they never saw. And all they said it was filmed with older actors. And it later turned out this was the pilot. This is actually a fan-made recreation of what could have been. And it uses a few clips from stuff. And so, it's actually just used clips from Bioman because Bioman exists in full.
It is another time. A future time where peace reigns across the solar system and war is a concept from the past. Then, suddenly, without warning, an evil intergalactic sorceress bursts upon the scene, bringing with her a troop of strange and evil followers to create chaos around the world. Only one thing could stop them. A team of brave freedom fighters led by Victor Lee, an expert in martial arts. Zach Taylor, a detective with an unusual style.
Close the man on a group of boys. Terrorists. Yeah, that's right, terrorists. And if they get away, hey, this sweet land of liberty we living in is going to be in a mess of trouble.
Kimberly Hart, a sometimes clumsy, always clever aerobics instructor. Billy Cranston, an athletic heartthrob with a body of
How he's changed the news.
Trini Kristen, an intellectual and struggling novelist.
Whatever may come, we shall face it together. In chapter 14.
He's 5 heroes form a secret squadron with awesome superpowers who share a common goal: to rid the world of evil once and for all. Together, they are known as
It's just weird to think what we could have had.
Stay tuned to see if they will save the world. Available sometime in your future.
That never happens. An interesting fact, actually, in France, they actually ended up dubbing Bioman into French, and it was a real big hit. It was to the point that recently, a few Japan Expos ago, they invited the entire original cast of Bioman, plus the guy who essentially was in the stunt actor for the Red Ranger, who did all the work, everything essentially for Power Rangers. And yeah, they were like a huge deal. It was great. So yeah, in France, they actually ended up getting Bioman. They just dubbed it. So it is just odd to think what could have been. Like, as I know, a lot of people out here, well, some people here, probably were a bit too old for Power Rangers when it came out in '93. But it's odd to think, if it came out in the '80s, I'm sure a lot of people here would be like, I would probably just feel like a very '80s thing that would have done very well in the '80s. So it's odd to think. So now we're going to look at another piece of lost media to do with Metal Hero. Has anyone ever heard of the Metal Hero franchise? Yes. Essentially, after Power Rangers was a huge hit, Saban wanted more of that Toko money, and essentially they wanted anything else Toei had. So they were looking at the Kamen Rider franchise, and of course they looked at Metal Hero because there was a lot more footage, newer footage they could use from it. They wanted to use the footage from this show, which I have on the other side. Metal Land. I'm terrible at pronouncing things today. So this is the franchise they were going to bring it up. But Saban had another issue at the time. This is the time in the first season of Power Rangers. Jason David Frank, unfortunately lost last year, had been written out of Power Rangers. Of course, he lost his Green Power Ranger. He lost his power, and he leaves the show. So Saban were like, "Hey, that guy's ridiculously popular. Why don't we just make a new show about this guy?" And this is where Cybertron came along.
A new action series featuring awesome martial arts excitement.
Oh yeah? I've got one thing to say about that.
What?
Fly zone. Sight. It's good. Producing Adam Steele. It's true what they say. Like father, like son. Here is Tao Chong. Adam's like, teacher, not now.
He like shut you down. Did not. Did not. Check it out. Percy's after Mia. What's up, babe?
Babe, get your hands off me, Percy.
See ya. When I want to be ya.
From the makers of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comes Cybertron, a half-hour show packed with fun and action. Cybertron, the future is now.
I promised myself that someday I'd find a way to stop the war drones and find out what happened to my father. Now, with the help of Tao, his daughter Mia, and Cybertron, I will keep that promise.
Cybertron. Cybertron, coming soon from Saban Entertainment.
So after that pitch was made, Jason David Frank actually returned to Power Rangers as the White Ranger. The show was later reworked into VR Troopers. Now they use 3 Metal Hero shows and sort of turned it into a group superhero show just like Power Rangers before it. And trust me, you can totally tell it isn't about 3 different shows placed together. And any scenes that the 3 are together, they no joke just have to use like some Power Rangers suits that have repainted. I wish I had a photo of it. I stupidly didn't get it. To this day, unfortunately, Cybertron has not been seen outside of that promo you have just seen. I'd like to have seen what an actual take on the Metal Hero series would have been, a more faithful take. Of course, we did later get Peter Borgs. That was what, I would actually say a bit more of a faithful take, you know, it does do some weird stuff. So yeah, that is another what could have been. I would have loved to have just seen a show like that. I think it would have been really popular. I could have seen it be a hit. Anyone heard of Dragon Ball? Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, it's a very obscure show in series. So yeah, niche. I'm sorry, but apparently it has a lot of lost media, so I have to talk about it. There's literally everything from movie specials that have been lost. There are recap movie specials, that's the reason why they are lost. Literally the original broadcast audio has been lost.
Wow.
So I think the audio they're using is from like a lesser source. And I think they literally have like to convey, like stuff people have recorded off the television and literally sort of pasted it back on. Today, I'm actually going to look at the first time Dragon Ball was essentially adapted for the West. But technically, in a way, it wasn't. So I'll just do a little side story. Allegedly, and there is like next to no evidence of this existing. You know, back in the day, if you're on a long plane flight, they'd show movies. I believe, of course, I've only been to Japan in recent years. I've been told, like, in the 80s and 90s, what they do sometimes is they would dub anime really badly. And they would sort of put it on the planes and be like, hey, here's some anime, this is what, you know, you're going to go to see. Allegedly, they dubbed, very early on, they dubbed the very first Dragon Ball movie. But literally no evidence exists. And some of these dubs are so, because literally audio ever used on what airline planes. I believe that's where the original Akira dub actually came from. So you can know why it's so bad now, because it wasn't meant to be seen by anyone. So, people may recognise this logo. Oh, they're not popular, are they? Two main these guys for holding many Mark Cross franchises hostage, essentially. Hopefully now, things will be a bit better. Of course, they're probably most well known for this. Robotech. Essentially, there was 3 different shows put together into one show. But Harmony Gold had their eye on another anime. Actually had their eyes on quite a few animes, but the one, of course, I'm talking about today is Dragon Ball. Of course, the original Dragon Ball, not Z, the original OG Dragon Ball with Kid Goku and the good times before the show became about Vegeta and Piccolo being an awesome dad. And Goku not being so awesome at being a dad. So, Harmony Gold got the rights to Dragon Ball in 1989. They started working as a dub for the OG Dragon Ball. And, yeah.
Oh no.
They changed everyone's name. So let's go through them. Goku now Zero, Bulma is now Lina, Ongo is now Mamo, Pa is now Squeaker, Yamcha is now... I like how some of these names just make no sense. So they sound Japanese still. Zenkai, Launch became Madeline, Quillen became Bongo.
Whiskers the Wonder Cat.
I think we could have this. Master Roshi, these came Master Roshi. Turtle, Tortoise, that Palof, there was Article, My became, was it Venom? Grandpa Gohan became, that would have caused some, they got to Dragon Ball Z, that would have caused some problems because that was like the entire plot point because Gohan's named after him. Tender the Great, so he would, Tender the Great, so I guess he would have been called Tender if he ever got to Z. Tender, was it Teens, Tender, none of these names make sense, they just sound the same. And so you have the rest of the cat.
What's really stupid is that Pansy is already an English name.
Yeah. It's like everyone, and I like to point out that Boma literally has a t-shirt with her name on it. And I can confirm, we can show in the clip, even in the dub, they don't sort of do some 4Kids stuff and like...
Copyright reason that we have the rights to.
That actually could be a good point. You actually, I didn't think of that. They just could have not bought the copyrights to the names.
I don't think so.
I know. I think they're just like changing things.
I think the name Goku, I think the copyright's expired on that story.
I think so.
The only thing about it is quite old.
Yeah, I know that does happen. I know with Sherlock Holmes there's been some weird, like, I know recently the Phoenix Wright game, the prequel couldn't be released over here because it has, and they had to rename him when they did finally release it over here. But there was some other problems with that, it wasn't just that. Yeah, so what happened, they thought, hey, let's put this out in test market. They dubbed 5 episodes and movie 1 and 3. Don't know why movie 2 wasn't dubbed, maybe they didn't like movie 2. And they essentially broadcast it on sort of small American television stations to sort of say, hey, do you like this? Should we dub more of this? Here is a clip.
And just what are you looking for? I don't trust you. I'm not sure what it is yet, but you sure do look kind of different to me. That's because I'm a girl. A what? I've never met a girl. Are you for real? A female, you know, not a boy. Yeah, Grandpa told me about them, but until you, he's the only human I've ever seen. Huh? Yeah, I'm sort of an orphan. But Grandpa told me if I ever met one of you girls, I should be as pleasant as possible. He did? Well, that's a great suggestion. Be nice if all boys took that advice to heart, wouldn't it? And just what are you looking for?
That's like the dub they actually mentioned do. So sadly, it was only a few, showed in a few areas, and it turned out no one taped it. This is kind of a reoccurring thing on Lost Media. It's just like, we could have taped it, but we didn't. For years, actually only the opening and the odd audio clip existed. This was stuff of legend, the Harmony Gold dub. Essentially, Dragon Ball would be picked up again in 1995 by a little-known company called Funimation. Never heard of them. They actually would dub 13 episodes, and they kind of gave up. They went, oh, let's go to this other more exciting show called Dragon Ball Z, which found a lot more success apparently. Not heard of it till this day, but yeah, so it wasn't like I was cosplaying from it last year. Yeah, I was on show last year. So of course, once they actually had finished dubbing Z and the absolutely masterpiece that is GT, that's sarcasm there. They thought, hey, this Dragon Ball is popular, let's dub that original show we decided not to dub. And yeah, Dub Dragon Ball essentially got dubbed. So that does also, I guess, show you how that could have been different. You know, Dragon Ball could essentially have been coming out a lot faster in places like here. Because it didn't start airing until like the 2000s over here, I believe. It was about 99. Because I remember it because I used to have cable. And I left my house I left the house that had cable just as Dragon Ball was about to air. They were literally showing like coming soon Dragon Ball trailers. So I never got to see Dragon Ball the first time because we didn't have cable for years. But sadly, it's not lost. Eventually it was found, and I'm going to talk a bit about it. As I said, there actually were some bits of the English audio still in the Mexican dub. I don't know how that works. But on March 1st, 2020, all our prayers are finally answered. And it's all helped to do with this little website, which I probably should have talked a bit more about in the last, because people actually have asked me about archiving things. And of course, copyright can be a bit complex. If you just stick it on YouTube, yeah, YouTube's not very helpful. Don't do it on YouTube now. Don't hurt me, YouTube. So of course it's archive.org, Orpington Archive. This is an amazing little website. Essentially, you can upload if you have media that is lost. You know, I know people here have old tape recordings of things years ago. Please do feel free to go to this website and upload it. It's a safe place to put it. So I just thought I'd put this here because I actually was physically asked about this and I stupidly didn't talk about that. Talked about the Lost Media Wiki, but I understand you can't physically post stuff on the Lost Media Wiki like that. Someone cheering.
Someone got a point list probably.
Someone winning a point list. So as I said, the upload. So, right. So as I said, he actually, someone called Ryan Gavinson, thank you, uploaded copies he had taped all them years ago. It turned out someone had taped it and it just hadn't told us. Meaning that it was finally found and this was a happy ending to the story. But there are other Dragon Ball dubs out there that may or may not have lost media. Do people think you know what dub I'm talking about? That was very notorious. Oh.
God, Anime UK was it Big Green?
Has anyone ever heard Big Green dub?
Sadly.
Okay. Yeah, there is some. They actually did physically release some of it. Okay, you were Dragon Ball in the UK. You may have heard, I put you unless the KL. You may have heard of this dub. Do you know in the UK there was about 3 Dragon Ball dubs? It gets very confusing. Of course, we had funny. I don't know what it's weird. It starts off with like funny, then it goes to. No, it starts off with those first couple episodes like Savannah or something, and it's fun. They go for funny for like 10 episodes, and then of course they use the Canadian dub for the rest of the series. But for whatever reason, Toonami UK were like, we're not going to pay for the rights to your movie dubs. So they decided to buy an available dub from the AB group. And this is what we know as the Big Green. Do you want to know why it's called the Big Green? Some of these clips will show you.
Answer me. Who are you?
It's Big Green!
Let that child alone. Let me alone.
It's about time I was allowed to have some fun. And now I'm going to teach our visitor a lesson.
No, don't do it. He's too powerful.
You're right. Why didn't you tell me sooner? That's my turn. Here I go.
No, don't do it. He's too powerful.
Why do these things always happen to me?
Right, everyone of my race can become a giant gorilla. I'm truly sorry, little one, but I have to have a clear conscience. My portable computer tells me that your blood is identical to my own.
No, it's not okay. I'm still hungry.
Oh, Goku! Oh! You've cost me too much time. I should have killed you already. It's true you wouldn't think, but I'm pretty sure the rest of them on this worthless planet will not do the same. No doubt you're wondering what it is. It's a ball of fire. Who is he? Where is he from? And you say you're the prince of the space warriors?
Did they say why? Did they say?
What is it, Majesty?
The movie's hardly coming off. So, everyone's asking me, why is this dub so wild? Do you want to know why it's so wild?
If they were on something.
There's actually another really good reason. They actually used the French dub of Dragon Ball. The French dub is wild. They were a bit like Harmony Gold. They just were like, screw the source material. We're going to do our own thing. And of course my understanding is the translations weren't always necessarily right. Such as you see every move, no joke, is known as Hami Kami Ha. Any attack is Hami Kami Ha. They actually got to the point when Dragon Ball Kai came out in France, this sort of their big opportunity to go, we're bringing back nobody from the original French dub. This is like France's chance to have a good Dragon Ball dub that's actually faithful. So people were going, well, you're showing the clips here, where's the lost media? You just use this excuse to show funny clips. Well, there is potentially some lost media here. So as I said, Toonami UK showed 11 of the Dragon Ball movies, 3 of the Dragon Ball Z, 11 Dragon Ball Z movies, 3 Dragon Ball movies, and 1 GT movie, of course, using the dub. That was the big green dub. But, of course, not many of these got home media releases. Some of them got in the UK, they did have some DVD releases, but they were not popular. And I think I know why. There were some more home releases in Holland. You may have seen some of the clips, they actually had some Dutch subtitles. And of course you would say, but wait, there in the original Dragon Ball there are like 14 movies. So what happened to the last 3? And that's the thing. One of 2 things, they just never made them, which is probably very likely and kind of the boring into our story. And the other theory is that they were made and they just never aired them, which is not surprising because Toonami UK did some just weird stuff back in the day. So there's another weird Dragon Ball dub, is that the Ocean Group have actually dubbed the entirety of Dragon Ball Kai. And it is still not seen the light to this day, because everybody picked up the Funimation dub, including the UK. And the BBC picked up the Funimation dub as well, so that was like another opportunity to get it picked up. Yes, by the way, Dragon Ball is on BBC iPlayer now, so just putting that out there for people. And Pokemon, and the Dragon Quest anime. Yes. So yeah, there's a lot of anime on BBC now that wasn't there before. So yeah, the world of Dragon Ball dubs is odd. There are way more dubs, there are way more potential lost media. There's even weird rumours that potentially there is actually a dub of the series, the actual main series of Big Green. But there's like no solid evidence of that, and that's just speculation. And do I really need an entire series of Big Green? Right, I'm going to show you another franchise that you may have heard of. I heard it's popular in some places, never really heard of it. Pokemon. There's a lot of lost media of Pokemon, including this masterpiece. Unfortunately, we're not talking about this today. We're hoping we do a sequel. This is probably what we're going to talk about. But just
did you show me this?
I showed you. We showed clips to this. This was a Pokemon musical they made in like the early 2000s. Wow. And unfortunately, it came out at that time when Pokemon was like a bit, people didn't like it anymore. It was due to tour in the UK. Unfortunately, it never did. There actually has been a lot of it found recently. But as I said, next time I probably will do a fuller section on this one, because I found an even weirder Pokemon lost media. Of course, the soundtrack is amazing. I will say this: I was at Pokemon Wells, and they were actually playing music from this on the soundtrack. And me and Karen, I was with Karen, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna have Pokemon the musical. We gotta go see it. They brought it back. Of course, there's other pieces of lost media. Of course, the infamous band episodes, and whether dubs exist or not exist. Of course, this is actually one of the episodes that dub did eventually exist. Of course, with this scene conveniently taken out. But today, we're going to look at something that is a lot more worse. It's actually a full Pokemon series, and it is mostly lost to time. Until recently, only 3 short videos existed. Say hello to Pokemon Learning League! You may go, wait, Tim, you got that wrong. It's like Pokemon Puzzle League, that's a really good game, and like it's not lost media, freaking they released it on the Switch. No, this is Pokemon Learning League, something totally different and totally worse. Mostly worse. So, Pokemon Learning League was a web-based series that came out in 2006. And we all know back in 2006, internet-only series were absolutely amazing and masterpieces. The site was free to start off with, but it went behind the paywall. That probably is a really crap idea for 2006 internet. The idea allegedly, and there's not too much info, actually came from one of the higher-ups from Japan who thought it would be a really good idea to make an educational Pokemon series. So, it was based on Gen 3 and 4. I know I have done a Pokemon panel and I did upset people with my opinions on Gen 4. My opinions on Gen 4 still have not changed, even after the remake, I'll just say that. But I did have Gen 1 and 2 casts show up. So they didn't forget about Tracy. There are new characters who are known as the mission guides. Each one of them have a different subject matter. So they would teach things like science, maths, and actual education. And then there was just one guy who taught life lessons. And of course, those aren't the ones that have aged or just the most funniest. Also, there was another notable thing: no battles could actually happen in the show. None of the Japanese cast members' audio was allowed to be used, and this is the only project where Iku does not actually pick Pikachu in an official Pokemon product because she does Pikachu in every language, because all she has to say is Pikachu, and they just use the audio. A lot of Pokemon that happens with, they keep, the best example is actually Starmie and Staryu. You always notice they make a really odd sound, they go, ah! And anyone who knows Ultraman goes, that sounds a bit like Ultraman. It's because in the Japanese dub, they actually were called Starfish Man, in a reference to Ultraman. But in the dub, they just must have not realised, they just kept the audio the same. So even character design was changed because they were like, no, we can't have this in an educational show. So this is Dawn. Even though I do have harsh opinions on Gen 4, I do actually quite like Dawn. I think she's one of the best designed protagonists. Someone took a look at this and went, showed too much leg. You can't have that in an educational series, I'm so sorry. So they redesigned her for this series and this series alone.
Why the are we leggings?
I have no idea. They were just like, you can't show legs. Can't show legs in a children's show. Even though I'm pretty sure
essentially what you've done is drawn her legs but just made them a different colour.
Yeah. I realised that, of course. I just realised that.
Are they giving her some sleeves, I think?
They gave her sleeves. So like, arms, no! Arms are evil and unholy.
So let's draw a line across her forearms and then colour everything above.
Yeah. I realise that now. It looks like they've done that. That's lazy. Yeah. I'm learning stuff from my own audience.
I gotta say, it's not as bad as I was expecting.
Yeah. For a long time, only 3 parts existed, and this was one of them, and it is pretty damn hilarious.
Excuse me, miss. I'm Frog. What's going on? It's like I'm invisible.
This was on the internet in
Like nobody wants
2006.
to hang out with me. I need someone to talk to.
Yeah, no one will talk to you because you sound like you're suffering from constipation.
See what's going on with him.
You sure this wasn't from Newgrounds?
How's it going? Good. I mean,
Paid
not
for this.
so good. I'm here at the park, and it seems like no one wants to hang out with me.
Why not? You're one cool dude.
Yeah, thanks. But you're the only one talking to me. I keep trying to say hello to people walking by, but they just keep on walking.
Like who?
Well, there are all these girls here. And I know they're girls, but it doesn't always have to be about girls with me. Sometimes I just want to make some new friends.
I don't know. We've seen this show.
I'm practically yelling hello at them.
I think that would be the problem.
But I said hello. I mean, how else does anyone ever meet anyone?
Hello is a good start, but there's a little more to making friends than that. Let me give you a few tips for making some friends that have always worked for me.
Oh, yeah? Let's hear them then.
First things first. You gotta start with a smile. When you want to approach somebody, your body language can speak as loudly as what you say. Make sure your arms aren't crossed. That makes you look defensive. So check that your whole body is straightforward and looking at the person you want to meet. So you look friendly. And then just simply smile.
How's this?
Great, man. You can stop smiling so much.
Because my cheeks were starting to hurt.
You always want to make yourself seem really genuine. So just smile naturally, like you normally would. Then your cheeks won't suffer, and neither will your presentation.
Okay, how's this? Yes, one is done.
Right. So on to tip number 2. After introducing myself, I always like to lead with a compliment, like, "Hi, I'm Quinn. I wanted to tell you how much I like your hair. How do you look so strange?"
Sounds creepy.
Oh, no. I like your cap. Where did you get it?
Thanks.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
I was just thinking that.
She can make anything.
Yeah. And see, it's just that easy to start a conversation with someone. Because when you compliment something you like about someone else, it helps them to see what you have in common.
Wow, totally. So I should come up with a lot of compliments I can use.
As long as you mean it. Be true to yourself. That's important when making friends. But it's also important to ask questions too, so you can learn more about them.
I see.
Right. That reminds me. I also like to talk about the things that I see around me that are cool. Like point out a cool poster or something that's interesting that's going on. Feel free to say whatever you think, as long as it's nice. And even better if it's funny.
Yeah, but sometimes I can't think of something funny to say.
That's okay. You can ask them about their favorite books, movies, music, food, anything that you can think of that interests you about them.
Oh yeah! Like, I could say, "Would you like to hang out with me every day?" And we could come up with nicknames for each other.
You can't go that far. You have to get to know someone. That way, when you do hang out one-on-one, you already know you have things in common.
Can I at least ask them if they're cool enough to be friends with a guy like me? Stop talking.
I don't recommend you do. You have to be willing to take risks when you make new friends. Plus, you also want to be sure not to offend them before they get a chance to know you.
Okay. I guess I'll just be able to tell a little more about them once we start talking.
Yeah, especially personality-wise, if you get to know them. And remember, a good way to tell if it's a good question is to ask yourself at first.
That's a good idea. But is there something I should be saying?
Just be yourself.
Right, I can do that. I think I'm ready to make some new friends.
All right.
Okay, but I'm a little nervous. Will you help me meet some new friends? There are a lot of people here training with their Pokemon.
Right, so as you can see, that was odd. People were actually asking, someone did say, was that from Newsground? It was actually made in Flash, and as you can see, they'd reused backgrounds from the anime. And they'd used really high quality JPEGs.
One thing I don't know is when did Brock turn into an insult?
Yeah, I had really cruel jokes about that, and that's not the only moment in the franchise where a character in the show is totally, with it, just turns into some total, I have no social skills now. Please tell me about social skills. For many years, practically, that was that, and I think 2 of the more actual educational, about maths and stuff that are nowhere near that funny, because they actually teach interesting things and don't have a character act really out of character. Were the only things you could get. But someone on the Lost Media Wiki, was it AMT Carl, who had downloaded the entire website before it had disappeared, because this being a Flash website, disappeared in 2008, and decided to upload the entire thing to archive.org, so our friends archive.org, in 2001. Not 2001, 2021, that's like 20 years different. Meaning this show is now fully watchable, and we can have
You
more...
say that.
This is Tim. He watches the Turbo Shop.
We can now watch gold like this.
Seems like everyone here is preparing for the Pokemon contest. Big! I've heard that coordinators will be showing off some excellent moves. And I know you two will be terrific. Oh, look! There's Zoe! Let's say hi. Hi, Zoe. Are you all set for the contest?
Hi, Dawn. Long time no see. Didn't you know you can connect with other coordinators before the contest on this message board? If you want to be prepared, you really should check it out. Look.
Oh, right. We saw posters about this website.
Cool. Let's see.
Like how Brexit's social skills.
I'm Dawn. Hey, someone named Cool Girl Trainer just wrote me. It says, "Hey Dawn, what's up? We should hang out before the contest. Just tell me where you'll be, when you'll be there, and which Pokemon you'll bring so I can look for you." Who's Cool Girl Trainer? Zoe, do you know who Cool Girl Trainer is?
Beats me. But I've heard a lot of coordinators getting messages from her. She emailed me.
Yeah, it
but I haven't written
just
back.
feels like a Christmas.
Well, then she's obviously a fellow coordinator. We've probably met her before. Pikachu?
Off-sound Pikachu there.
Yeah, Dawn, I'm not sure. Oh, what a bunch of worry warts
I
you
like how
all
they use
are.
those anime
Maybe
effects.
she's an experienced coordinator. I'm going to keep talking.
Listen to that. No, guys. I'm not sure about this. I'd like to email her too, but I have no idea who she is.
It's kind of weird that none of the other coordinators know Cool Girl Trainer either.
I know. Maybe Quinn can help us figure out what the deal is.
Hey, everyone.
That is everyone's favourite Pokemon character.
We're all here getting ready for Dawn's Pokemon contest, and we ran into
We
our
won't
friend
show
Zoe. She showed Dawn a website for participating coordinators where someone named Cool Girl Trainer was asking her all this personal stuff. And it seems Dawn is making plans to meet up with her and tell her all about her Pokemon.
This sender isn't someone you know?
I don't think so. She emailed me and a bunch of other coordinators too, but I haven't written back yet.
You don't remember that screen name as one of your friends?
Nope.
Weird.
But it's cool to make a new friend. Should I write back?
Well, you were smart to come to me first and not write back right away. Because if you don't know someone, you shouldn't tell him or her your personal information. I call it my yappy. Like, yappy is the stuff that is unique to you that you shouldn't yap about online. Like your full name, addresses, phone number, passwords, and your plans. In this case, your plans for the contest are where you're going to be, when you'll be there, and whom you're going to be with.
Yeah, you'd never want to tell those things to strangers.
So why tell those things on the internet to someone you can't even see? Especially when it's information as important as your prized Pokemon.
Meow.
But isn't she probably someone Zoe knows? Otherwise, how would she know Zoe's email address? Well, maybe they actually did meet before. Or maybe she just saw Zoe's screen name or email up in the chat room. Who is the message from again?
Cool Girl Trainer?
But that's not her real name. It might not
Maybe
even be
they-
her. It might not even be a kid.
Even if the message board is for Pokemon coordinators, the website address is on a contest poster.
Then anyone who saw the poster knows about the message board.
Yeah,
Does
those
everyone have a
posters were
bottom?
all over the city. I think we were all excited to practice with another Pokemon coordinator.
Hey, it's fun to go on the internet. You can find out about new things and talk to people all over the world.
You'll be
But
disappointed.
there's a way that I check what information is out on the internet about me. I just type my name into a search engine.
Don't do that.
It's okay to have general information about your interests out there on the World Wide Web, but you want to be careful that strangers can't piece together too much of that. You want to protect yourself, your family, and your friends. You've got the power to keep your yappy off the net. Well, you've got the power to enjoy your time online. To stay in the power seat, you should check in with a trusted adult about it first.
No problem. Let's make sure Nurse Joy knows about this.
Thanks for telling us about Yappy, Quinn. You know,
So essentially the part of this show, as it was flashed, there was like education, it was like a mini game where it would give you questions and stuff. And then there'd be a bit later on that would carry on the plot. So who do you think the Pokemon trainer Dawn? Oh, it's not gonna work, is it? Oh no, damn you Flash. Damn you Flash. Okay, I'm not gonna show the whole thing. Essentially it turns out to be Team Rocket. Team Rocket show up and you're like, what? Who would do such a thing? And like, Team Rocket. I'd love the idea if that was just a Chris Hansen idea. The sort of Team Rocket come into our house and Chris Hansen's like, what are you doing? What, sit down. Take a seat. So you said you wanted to steal this girl's picnic?
This clip makes Ash look competent.
It does.
That's scary.
Oh, trust me, I watched another one and Ash just doesn't know any social skills. He pushes in line and stuff. And I'm like,
Who
Ash,
liked this?
it's just weird.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Like, I saw this untold truth about Quinn, where he's like got a kind of
I don't know, I feel like some Quinn, there's dark. I feel like you'd read up about he probably got done on something. Like, he probably got done on one of these like dodgy websites and stuff. One of those Facebook groups where they're like, yeah. He probably got done by Chris Hansen himself. Right, of course, I'm going to talk about a bit of another more obscure piece of Pokemon Lost Media. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, episode 82, which was called the Korgan Cop. You can find this episode very easily, but there's been one huge change. When the episode first aired in Japan, it looked like this.
What?
But when it re-aired later on, it now looks like this. The entire character has changed his hair. Why is it? And his chin? It's because of this. Of course, it was meant to be a reference to a classic anime. This guy was from the Gutsy Frog, a super early Shonen Jump manga from the 70s. That shows you how old that is. Like, most of the Shonen Jump stuff from the 70s is very niche, very niche. So, the Jump saw this and they essentially said, yeah, we have the copyright on that character and you don't change it, we're going to sue you. And they did. Luckily, someone did actually record an original broadcast copy of this, so we can actually see what the episode was supposed to be like. But yeah, that's not the only like gutsy frog piece of Lost Media. I mean, there's like some absolutely obscure piece of gutsy frog Lost Media out there that has like people asking so many questions. Oh, what the hell is this? One image? What was that supposed to even be? This is the only world photo taken from a failed pilot from an American remake of the Gutsy Frog. So this was essentially a vehicle for Frankie Jonas. He was literally the youngest of younger Jonas brother, and it was made by Nickelodeon. This was a time when Nickelodeon was trying to steal any Disney star they could. And this was their idea. They're going, we're going to remake this obscure anime that anyone over here has not heard of. As you can see from the characters, it actually looks like quite a faithful adaptation. He's even got the glasses the character has, and he has the t-shirt with the frog. So what the hell happened? So sadly this show was never picked up. Actually, maybe it's good. This show was never picked up. This is the only piece of media that exists out there that this show ever happened. And yeah, so this is like probably the oddest like anime Lost Media related to Disney star rights. No, and this one's even more obscure because there is actually no official images, only reports that it happened. Say hello to Hannah Montana, the anime. And it wasn't like it was made by some stupid studios, you know, Toei Animation were working on this. So what do we know? Well, the only reason we know about this is because of a ex-Dragon Ball leaker who worked for Toei, known as Wasted Wisher. He would essentially go onto Dragon Ball forums and leak. In 2009, he said that they were working, he had worked on Digimon X or what, and he was working on some sequences from yet unannounced Hannah Montana anime. A lot of his leaks, or pretty much all his leaks were true, he was good. Of course, Miley Cyrus would leave Disney Channel in 2011, which probably cancelled the pilot, or the project, I guess. So Toei, unfortunately, of Disney, due to the fact that the Disney will not let any of this stuff ever come out on the internet. So maybe one day, as we said, we saw something like that fought by our pilot, which I thought I'd never even see a single image of. You know, someone may leak it, or someone might just stick it on their Facebook. But unfortunately, sadly, I don't think we're ever going to see the light of day of it. But who knows? Maybe next year we'll be watching the Hannah Montana anime. Oh look, it's this guy again. What else media do you have for us this year, Doraemon? So, Doraemon, today we're going to look at the time a well-known American businessman tried to make this classic Japanese anime into the American market during the 80s. Some people may recognize this guy. It's Ted Cerner. He owns a lot. He loves Captain Planet because he created it. In 1985, he got the rights to Doraemon and decided to make him a star on his new TV network, TBS, which is known as Turner Broadcast System. Ooh, not an ego there. How is it?
I'm just putting on low power mode.
Okay. 50 episodes were made, but they were just dropped. They were just never seen again. The show was actually renamed to Albert and Sydney. I would go on air, but for one country in Barbados who would pick up the rights to skilled up. And this is not the first time something like this has happened. Of course, last year we talked a bit about the Shin-Chan dub. The original Shin-Chan dub actually never appeared in America and only aired in places like United Kingdom, Republic Island, and Australia. Another obscure one, made by Saban, was this series. The Genie family actually had a remake recently, renamed to Bob in a Bottle. Bob in the Bottle was made by Saban and it never aired in the US, only aired in Canada, Australia and New Zealand, so not even we got it this time. For a long time, this was the only footage known of the show to ever exist. Yes, this is from an episode of Power Rangers. That is also made by Saban.
Out of my way, Pinhead.
Look, I want to see too.
What a remarkable display of early Neanderthal socio-contact.
As you can see, they're watching. This confirms that Bulk and Skull are huge weebs. They are watching an anime that wasn't available in their country at the time. Meaning that they sought out afterwards, meaning that they are humongous otaku. So we have learned something new. So, back to the actual what we're talking about, Albert and Sydney. This was only shown in Barbados, and not for many years. Our old problem of people not recording it happened again. It was to the point where people just thought it was a huge troll. But until 2020, when 5 minutes of footage was actually found. And I will show you some of it now. I believe this came from the guy who did the music. I feel like this clip should be a meme.
You won't escape us bad guys this time.
we only have a little bit of time left, so I've got something big to show at the end. Sadly, no full episodes exist outside of those couple of clips. So now we're essentially going to talk about probably one of the biggest fans of the Lost Media community last year, which, funny enough, I talked about in my panel last year when it was Lost. Yeah! Turns out to be found! And we must thank the YouTuber, Ray Mona. Have her video, or have her link here. She made a really good, 2-hour documentary about it. Essentially, she wrote to the Library of Congress asking for it, and it turned out they had it the entire time. So that's the short version if you really don't want to watch the 2-hour documentary. I believe it was talked about a little bit in Epic Failures last. I wasn't there because I went on an adventure at IKEA.
Got a shark.
The good news, we can now finally watch this masterpiece. As long as people don't throw me out of the room. Of course, this is a pitch pilot, so you would notice here, for example, I like they've got the same logo. They're using the water well, they wouldn't have used the water well music in the actual thing.
Our solar system was besieged. Wicked Queen Beryl and her evil forces of darkness captured the outer planet and seized their jewels of power. The Princess Warriors ruled Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and the Earth's moon. To become absolute ruler, Queen Beryl must defeat the Princess Warriors and obtain the remaining cosmic jewels of power. The royal families of the 5 inner planets, led by beautiful Queen Serenity, formed an alliance to defeat Queen Beryl, making the moon their capital. To affirm the new confederation, Queen Serenity announced the betrothal of her only daughter, Sailor Moon, to Darien, Prince of the Earth. A great celebration was held on the moon to honor the momentous occasion. Sailor Moon was surrounded by her closest friends.
Sure, the animation would have got better if they picked it
Sailor
up.
Mars, Sailor Mercury, Sailor Venus, and Sailor Jupiter.
Oh, Darien, I've so looked forward to this day.
At last we will be together.
Darien placed a star pendant around Sailor Moon's neck and presented her with a single rose.
A symbol of my everlasting love.
A chilling breeze swept the rose from his hand.
It's Beryl. The evil beast has found us. Our time is finally at hand. Now, the solar system is mine. Behold, Queen Beryl and despair. Bring me the jewels of power.
We must stop them.
If this was any more wooden, no one would have used it for the art.
Families must be saved. It's up to you to pilot the galleon.
I can't leave you now.
There's no time to argue.
Throw a spine.
You must save as many as you can. Take the jewels. You and the other princesses must escape with Darien to Earth. But there's no time to explain. You princesses now possess the most powerful pendants in the universe. Guard them with your lives. Escape into the vortex. There you can hide in a different dimension. Beryl cannot follow. I will find a way to communicate with you. But you must leave now. We must reach the galleon before it's too late. Watch out! Look out! We almost had them. Faster! Faster! To the vortex and beyond oblivion.
windsurfing a thing in Sailor Moon?
No.
Now it's live action.
Luna, home seems so far away now.
Hey, Vic. Vicky. Victoria. Can I borrow your lipstick?
What? Sure. Where are you going?
Don't tell me you forgot.
Should I be smashing in white or sophisticated in black?
What happened to pretty and pink?
The talking cat put up, gives her advice. The princess spiders step on the side. Sailor, Sailor Moon. Sailor, Sailor Moon.
So they are doing a cloning experiment.
Statistically speaking, I am going to find the cutest guy at the dance. And they go, and why not? Because he'll be dancing with me. Yes. She's gonna stop evil forces and save the galaxy. Sailor, Sailor Moon.
I have absolutely nothing to do.
She and her friends are gonna crush crime time and again. Sailor, Sailor Moon. Sailor, Sailor Moon.
They need your help.
Still got merchandise. Like how Moon's the only one got a real engine thing.
Sailor Mars. Sailor Venus.
Princess warriors sailed to the planet Jupiter on their sky flyers to do battle with three Pharaoh's dark forces.
This Jupiter's now clear as solid, not gas.
So, you guys are in for it. And if I break a nail, you're really in for it.
Why did they have the same background?
Why don't we have a party right here?
Sounds good to me, but I think this guy is too out of shape today. Why don't we burn off a few pounds?
Hey, way to the original party girl. Oh, I like your style. Let me teach you a new style. Uh-oh. This creep is mine.
No, this foe is beyond any of you.
Watch out! Are you alright? Hey, somebody answer that phone. This one is powerful. Oh, Moon is hurt.
His work is done here.
Well, you didn't do anything.
He's doing something in this version.
It's fading. Look, he's gone.
His work was done.
I just don't know.
Daydream. This time we don't. Outer space.
No, Miss Frank. I'm right here.
and we never saw any of it ever again. So for context, this was made in this weird time period where Power Rangers has come out and people wanted to be the next Power Rangers. So essentially someone bought the rights to Sailor Moon, and that was their idea. They were going to have half live action, half animated. But they used new animation, which kind of killed the point. Right, we are unfortunately at the end of our panel. As I have mentioned before, we're going to get started. Lost Media Wiki is a good place to start. Please do check before you start your hunt, because some media may already be found, like I talked about that, fought by our pilots. And for the love of God, please do not bug people for lost media. No means no. Walk away if people do not want to talk about it. Essentially, some of this stuff can be embarrassing to people. It's like showing photos of your younger self. People just don't want to see the cringe. Also, legal problems is another big reason why we do not see releases. And of course, I talked about it with archive.com. Really good place. If you do, I know people probably may potentially is something to check out where people are digitizing tapes. Could even be anything from idents or anything like that, or like old anime stuff, old fanzines and stuff. This is just a good place to put them so the media does not get lost. And I think that's my last. Where to find me? I have a YouTube called Anime YouTube, where I host a podcast with my wonderful co-host, Rebecca. We make multiple videos about UK anime things. We're actually doing the minamicon videos right now, doing this one here, which has been filmed. Don't worry, it's filmed this way, so no one's going to be appearing in it except for us. So it would be super cool if you were to check us out. And I think we're on Twitter as well, at Anime UK, at Anime UK.
What up, photo money?
We're nearing 1,000 subscribers, so yeah, anybody who could give us a helping out. And of course, thank you everyone for coming. I hope you had a brilliant minamicon. I had an absolutely wonderful time, and you've all been a wonderful audience.